Welcome back to the Rooted in Resilience podcast. Today is a solo Strong.Sistas podcast, just Sarah and myself. And we are going to talk about health trends that need to go.
Health trends that need to go.
So I wrote down 3 and Sarah wrote down 3. And I don't know what she wrote down. She doesn't know what I wrote down. So we're just going to talk about them today. Kind of more fun podcast and hoping to reduce food fear.
And at the end, we're going to talk about a few health trends that are trending for us.
Health trends trending for us. I didn't write those down, but we'll just talk about those together if that's okay.
Yeah. So okay. It's funny because I feel like now that we're older and we've kind of been in the health space for some time now, you see trends like resurface. So like, I'm sure people who are like 40s and 50s and 60s and stuff who've been in the health space are like, oh, those kids, you know, when they see us go through like the same trend that they went through, like they've been there, done that. I just hope that most of us get to a point where we've learned our lesson to stop going through that trend.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about.
Well, I think it's important to, we've been in the health and wellness space for what, like 10, 12 years?
My journey, started when I was like 14. So
whatever the health and wellness space is, you know, sometimes it can be so toxic. We've been a part of this for so long and we've done so many stupid things. Mm-hmm. And you cringe, right? Like you cringe reflecting back on what we did. Yes. So, all right, do you want to start us off with the first health trends? Sarah's first health trend that needs to go.
Yes.
And we'll switch off?
Okay, well, yeah.
Okay.
So my first one that I wrote down is vegetables are trying to kill you. So I know that we said this once. Like that's the thing, is like we spread this message when we were in our carnivore stage, and I think it just stems from like a place of fear, also a slight place of just some like a little bit of ignorance. And I'm not saying that the people who are saying this are bad or malicious in any way. Like I understand people don't do well with vegetables, but it's not really the vegetable like itself that caused a lot of people's health issues. Like it might make things worse, you know, in a certain context if maybe somebody cannot tolerate that specific fiber. But in many cases, people are blaming the vegetable. Like they're placing the blame on a piece of broccoli as opposed to understanding the nuance of, you know, maybe it's a state of, you know, my gut at that time. Maybe I couldn't tolerate that fiber. Maybe I wasn't preparing these vegetables properly. Like proper preparation is a huge component of toleration, like tolerating different foods. And we've learned this over time too. So yeah, I just think like this whole, because what I see is that this animal based has really taken off on Instagram. And granted, it could just be because we are targeted, like we are sort of in that community, so most of our feed is that like the feed that Instagram tries to show you is a lot of that.
Yeah.
So it could be that that's why I'm seeing so much of this, but I've seen so many like, here's what I'm eating on an animal-based diet, or here's what I'm eating on an animal-based to maintain my blah 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 blah, like, and then they list their food and like there's this takeaway message at the end that like it's that I'm having success because I'm not eating vegetables. But yeah, really, I'm sure most of these people could add back in like properly prepared and well-cooked vegetables and be fine with them. So I just don't like that we're demonizing the vegetable itself.
Okay. Can I provide some insight here?
Yeah.
I think what the biggest problem is, people think that vegetables are a carb. Whereas if we view vegetables as just a micronutrient into a source and a fiber source, like then you realize, okay, I need to include other energy sources at that meal. I think the problem arises when someone just has a plate of vegetables and they're not actually providing their body with valuable energy. So I think that's the biggest thing that at least I've come back to, is like the state of your metabolism plays a huge role in your overall health and your gut health. And so if you have a low metabolic rate, you will have a slow digestive system. And so if you're not breaking down those fibers properly in your gut and they're sitting there and causing bacteria overload, gas, and things like that, yeah, that can be a problem.
Yeah.
But is it the vegetables or is it your metabolic rate?
Yes. Well, yeah. And so the argument that they're trying to kill you is coming from like the anti-nutrients.
Yeah.
But again, when you prepare a vegetable properly, you can significantly reduce that anti-nutrient. So it's not trying to kill you. Like, it's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to stand up because I also said this once. Like, we probably made a YouTube video like vegetables are from the devil himself.
Yeah.
But it's just not true. Yeah, so that's my first one. And again, it's mostly just like, that was a good point. Like, if you fill your whole plate with vegetables and like it's a
you're gonna have
plate,
some problems.
yeah, like that's a lot. Like, even today,
it's a lot of fiber.
So I've been enjoying vegetables. I really like green beans this season.
Green beans from the garden are doing so well. Right, the green beans in my garden are doing so well, and they're so good.
Steamed broccoli has been really delicious with some salt. What else? Zucchini. I know it's a fruit, but zucchinis. A lot of people associate zucchini with vegetables. I do myself, but it's a fruit. But anyway, if you're just gonna dabble into vegetables and you're just getting your toes wet, start with the zucchini, right?
Yeah,
it's a fruit. Anyway, so I've been enjoying vegetables, and so this has been on my mind more because our feed has not caught up with my pleasure of vegetables, right?
Vegetables are not trying to kill you. Just don't make them like your whole plate, right? Like enjoy a serving.
And don't eat just like a bunch of raw.
No, cook them. Cook them.
There's really no.
Make sure they're cooked.
Can you imagine eating a raw piece of broccoli? Like that just actually feels disgusting in my mouth. Whereas a nicely steamed, perfectly steamed piece of broccoli with some flake salt is a very delicious addition to a meal.
Yeah.
Meant as like an addition, like a topping almost, not like this is my carb.
Yeah, it's not your carb. It can give you some micros and it's mainly fiber.
Yes. So, okay, so the take home message, like, because again, I've seen this so much on our feed is like, here's what I'm eating to maintain my I put my PCOS in remission, blah blah blah. Like this is the video that they're claiming these things, and the take home message because of what they ate was that like it was because they removed the vegetable that they found success, but they most likely found success because they removed every single other processed food they were eating.
Yeah.
And so that cleared up a lot of issues.
Fiber, when you have a like quick digestive system, which you're supposed to be pooping every day, fiber is actually very beneficial for moving used hormones through, because your digestive tract will contain some like used up hormones. And if you don't get those moved through, those can be recirculated, contributing to estrogen overload. So an appropriate amount of fiber, we don't have to be going overboard here. An appropriate amount of fiber can really be beneficial in making sure that we get rid of some of those used up hormones. It's not just the food waste that you're trying to get rid of. There's other stuff in there
So that was number one. Again, I understand some people have issues with fiber, but it's usually not the best. Okay, what was your first one?
My first one
go bye-bye
is telling people not to strength train. And so this is a very recent thing that's happened on like social media drama.
Telling people not to strength train.
So the account, the Primal Bod, posted something about like how women like shouldn't be building muscle and should have more estrogen. And there's other accounts saying like similar things, like shouldn't be strength training. Do you have to strength train? No. But I don't think that it's a good idea to mass publicize something on a huge platform saying you shouldn't strength train.
I don't think she said you shouldn't strength train though.
There are accounts saying this. There are people saying this.
Back to the Primal Bod thing, because we did kind of dive into this a little bit more. I think it was just a piece of like a piece of her content taken out of context.
Yeah.
So yes, I feel like that is dangerous, because when somebody's scrolling through and they're only seeing like 15 seconds of what somebody's saying, that could be really easily misinterpreted. But I know that she does like strength training. So
I don't think she does.
Yes, I believe so. She recommends exercise. I think what she was saying is that estrogen is like the female hormone, and women tend towards more estrogen and therefore store more fat as like a evolutionarily like survival mechanism for reproduction. So I understand what she was saying in that regard. Like, yes, women tend, like, even when you look at a bodybuilder, like their stage body fat percentage, men will always have like the lower percentage.
Absolutely.
The female will always still sit a little bit higher.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's what she was saying, but I think what you're saying is that that piece of content was so easily taken out and misinterpreted by
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
that there's now potentially a message that women shouldn't strength train.
Because I think if we like are gonna like think like our ancestors or whatever, like women did a lot of work around their farms, around their homes, and like they built muscle from just like doing a lot more like stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And they had good metabolic rates. They ate enough food, so they maintained that muscle. I think a big issue we see now is like many people are under muscled, and so going on like fat loss diets and weight loss diets under eating, there's plenty of research supporting that when you do not strength train, when you are in a calorie deficit, you lose muscle mass. And if you don't resistance train, if you don't strength train, when you are in a calorie deficit, you lose significantly more muscle mass. And we don't want that. There's so many health improvements to muscle mass. Like all these people complaining about, insulin resistance, metabolic inflexibility, glucose intolerance, like all these things. If you have more muscle, those things improve. Those health metrics improve. There's so many benefits to having muscle. It's so hard to build a lot of muscle as a natty. You are not going to be like big, huge Hulk. You look at us. You won't get that way. And I think that so many people will improve their health by strength training.
Yeah.
So I think it's a dangerous message.
So I don't know, maybe you're talking more about like the people who say to like heal your hormones and stuff, you need to have less stress in your life. So then that would kind of imply that you shouldn't stress yourself out from working out, maybe. And then also like there's the crash dieting world, that like the extreme restrictive diets that don't place as much emphasis on exercise as they do just simply, restricting food so then you lose weight. But you're so right. Usually what happens is then you end up just kind of skinny fat.
Yeah.
Because you've lost your muscle mass. So,
if like so many people want this like desired physique, and if they were to build more muscle, their body composition would improve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then to the not, peaking your cortisol so you don't work out, like you don't strength train. That message, I have experienced myself that the lifestyle associated with not having that stress and not working out and, quote, healing my hormones and stuff and being at a certain body fat percentage in order for that to take place, I actually got worse. And I think it's a lot because, at a higher body fat percentage, you're going to have higher estrogen.
Store more estrogen.
And that could be, released into the tissue. So then you just have more higher circulating estrogen. I actually think that going on my recent cut, my deficit, and reducing my body fat percentage is allowing my hormones to be far more balanced because I'm not holding on to a lot of excess body fat. So anyway, I think this is kind of a tangent for what you were saying, but it's kind of a trend.
No, these are good nuanced discussions.
Yeah. Is like this idea that you need to be at a certain body fat percentage for proper hormonal health. And I think that a lot of people are actually getting worse. And we see this in our course too, like the people who came to pro-metabolic and gained a ton of weight, and they're actually having like more PMS. I think it has a lot more to do with just, reducing your PUFA content or, eating fruits and, quote, pro-metabolic foods. And it has a lot more to do with your overall lifestyle. So like your exercise routine. Are you building and maintaining your muscle mass? Are you at a healthy body fat percentage? That's going to look different for everybody, but I don't think it's good that we are telling a lot of people that it's like, if you have a hormonal issue, it might be because you need more body fat percentage. Like, I just don't think most people need more body fat.
Yeah.
I think most people actually might find that they have less PMS and less hormonal issues eating the proper diet at a lower body fat percentage.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
Yeah.
But that's been my personal experience. So sorry,
I know. I think that this is an important discussion because, of course, food sourcing and the types of food you eat matters, of course. Mm-hmm. But like, so does overall calorie intake. And this is something that for some reason people just like want to ignore. Like they literally just want to deny it. Yeah. But you can overeat a good diet. And if you do, the body has to put excess energy somewhere. It's got to put it somewhere. And having excess body fat, and we are not saying to be like stage bikini lean. No one needs to be that lean 365, but like you don't need to gain weight, a ton of weight. You don't need
most
to.
people.
Yeah.
Majority people. So yeah, that's the trend.
So basically, I just think that there's so much improvements to your health if you strength train, and it doesn't need to be every day. Like right now, we're strength training 2 times a week, and like you will get benefits if you stick with the program and like progress with that over time. Like, yeah, it's a dangerous message to not tell someone to strength train, because there is a very healthy way to incorporate that into a lifestyle.
For sure.
Okay, that's my first.
Okay, so another health trend that needs to go, or I just find odd, is like this strange trad wife videos and monotonous voices.
So, like, someone may have not heard that, but
it's like, okay, so I don't know if you have to be on Instagram, probably
say it again, because it was so quiet.
There's like these like strange videos where they're walking you through your day and they talk in this monotonous way.
She's saying strange trad wife videos, and what does that mean?
I don't really know. So I don't.
Trad means traditional, short term for traditional. So like,
maybe that's just like a horrible shortened word. Like, it sounds bad to me, but there's nothing, like, I have nothing against those people, because like
it's a beautiful life.
Yeah, like if they want that life, that's fine. I want like some version of that life.
Yeah,
but why are we talking in like the weird monotonous voice?
So there's videos online of these traditional wives, like being stay-at-home moms, and they record it and like post this on Instagram. Yeah, so but they add their own audio, and it's like the same tone, like really soft, quiet.
So an example would be like, here's the breakfast that my family and I harvested from our garden this morning as the sun rose, and we handpicked these blueberries and all the herbs.
She's executing this excellently.
With my eggs that my chickens just laid freshly this morning. I picked up an egg that came just out of my chicken's vagina right when it was laid, and then I cracked it onto a pan over my fire.
She's so committed.
The house while my husband got ready for work. Like, and it's just like, it's like, I would love to watch that all fall out. Like I'm all for that. Yeah. I'm just kind of like, does you have to talk in that voice to promote that lifestyle? I'm not sure, because I've seen like several accounts that talk in the same voice, and I'm like, is that required to be a trad wife? I want to know. So,
okay, a few thoughts there. Would a trad wife record her life, make a video, and post it online?
Like like she probably had to re-say that like 6 times.
And guys, we have a farm. Do you guys know how hard it is? Like, homesteading is hard. It's hard. I don't look beautiful dolled up outside. It's like 95 degrees outside. You're sweating your butt off. Yesterday, the cows and the pigs were out, and I was running around everywhere like it was a mess, right? I think that it's beautiful, the life that they promote, but there's some real hardships that are not shared. It's hard.
Mm-hmm. For sure. To me, it was just, I guess this isn't even a health trend. It's just the voice. The voice is up for question for me, because I'm not sure why it became part of it. Maybe it has to do with like those videos people watch where they really like just the noises.
Yeah.
So maybe like the
ASMR.
The tone is really soothing to some people. To me, I get very uncomfortable when I hear it. But that might be a personal problem.
I think Sarah may have some like something that she needs to work through here. I think she's got a personal problem.
I want to be a trad wife, but I can't do the voice, and therefore I feel like
to conclude, mamas out there or future mamas out there, I think like don't feel bad if you aren't a trad wife. Like that's not.
But don't feel bad if you are.
Don't feel bad if you are. Like these superiority complexes of like what you do, like that's gotta go. That's gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be proud and love what you do, regardless of what that looks like.
Well, I don't think they aren't. I don't know where we're going with this. Just move on to your next.
All right. My number 2 is toning diets.
What's the
toning programs? I've just seen this like pop up. I don't know why. So like, here's a diet program to tone, or like, here's an exercise program to tone. Literally, you just need to lose body fat. That at the end of the day, that
have muscle.
You need to have a base muscle, and a lot of people don't have enough base muscle, and you need to lose body fat to tone. You can't lift a certain way to tone. You have to just lift weights, and you've got to lift close to failure, like get a strong if you're doing light weights, there's no signal to the muscle that it needs to change.
But with that, there are many different ways to lift and build muscle, because you can lift relatively lighter weights, but you're still lifting to a perceived exertion. So you're still kind of getting to
that. You got to push it.
Yeah. Like you don't have to be in the gym like, Argh!
Yeah.
You know, like deadlifting, like your
one
rep max.
No.
You're not going to build muscle.
No.
But I think what you're saying is you need to push yourself, and your goal is still building muscle, but to tone, you would have that muscle and then lose the fat.
Just like think about what you're doing. If your movement doesn't encourage your body to make a change so that the body can be more efficient at doing that movement next time, it's not making a meaningful change in your body composition.
I think okay, this might help you explain this trend. People who are exercising to burn calories, like they're trying to tone themselves.
Yes.
But they're really just exhausting their body without really getting to the end goal of being toned at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Which you're not going to be toned at the end of the day. Like it's going to take months and months of work.
Yeah.
But
I think that just the biggest thing is just like don't fall for these lies. Like a toning, there's no such thing as a toning diet or a toning exercise program. Like literally strength train to build muscle and then go in a calorie deficit and lose body fat. That's how you tone. But don't be in a calorie deficit for forever. Don't constantly eat low calorie, because then you will never build the muscle that makes the body look like how you want it to look. So you have to be able to
two-toned.
What?
Will you end up two-toned, or what will happen?
You will be skinny fat. You'll be skinny fat. Your metabolism will downregulate. Your digestion will start to suffer. You won't be sleeping. You will have all these random health problems pop up. You'll be more susceptible to get like Lyme and all these other things, like if you're chronically under eating. So like, just don't fall for these toning things.
So you don't get more and more toned the lower your calories go. How does it work?
That's a long rabbit hole. Basically, it's just like people are creating more rules and more unnecessary fear. Like the word toning implies that any alternative doesn't tone.
That's a good point.
Like essentially at the end of the day, don't do a toning diet. Literally
you can do a toning diet because you're in a deficit.
Okay, but don't call it a toning diet.
What if I want to call it a tone?
I'm losing body fat. We're both in a calorie deficit right now.
We're on a toning diet.
We're on a toning diet. Oh, okay. That's all. It's
fine.
All right, what's your third?
All right. My third is, so it's more have to do with like the attitude around it. It's not really the point of the trend, because the trend, I like the trend to an extent, but it's this idea or this trend of like only eating with the season. Like that was like grown like at your neighbor farm. And I really like that idea. I think it's great to follow the seasons, but I don't like the attitude that seems to come with it of like the superiority.
You imported a banana?
Yeah, like you almost are shunning people for eating a banana, because clearly a banana didn't grow here. Most places in the US, bananas aren't growing. I don't even know, like, do we grow bananas in the US?
Florida. And some other areas, yeah. So
basically, like, this attitude that if you don't live in Florida and you're eating a banana, like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Like the light, your body doesn't know where that banana came from, and the message isn't appropriately getting
You're going to
signaled.
instantly gain fat.
So anyway, it's just like I do, again, like we farm, like we produce all this food. So like we obviously encourage and love the idea. Like we're eating from your garden, like because it's growing, but I'm also buying extra stuff from the grocery store because I like having those extra stuff. Like I like having like grapes, even though they're not growing in my backyard right now.
Yeah.
But they will be.
Soon. Yeah.
But anyway, it's this, and this applies to every single trend and diet camp, is this like superiority complex. And I think that's why all of these trends bother us to begin with, because there's not inherently like one better way to accomplish something. Like it always comes back to the basics.
Yeah.
And a lot of these different approaches
help you accomplish the basics.
Yeah, exactly. The basics of eating the appropriate amount of calories with some amount of knowledge on the macros. Obviously, you want to be choosing healthier options that have vitamins and minerals, but you can still eat your favorite foods that are, quote, unhealthy. Strength training, being active, doing some sort of exercise or walking or cardio to your liking. Yeah, like those are
and be happy.
Be happy. Those are the basics. And so there shouldn't be like superiority over somebody who's doing those basics while eating a banana versus somebody who's doing those basics not eating a banana.
And I think she's getting this because you saw though on our Instagram, we posted this like carousel. So like pictures, right, of meal plans from the 1870s from this time, August 1870. And we posted these meal plans. And if you're not following us on Instagram, you can check that out. It like that post went really well. Like a lot of people shared it, and it of course brought in like a lot of hate. But I think when you saw those meal plans, you realize like our ancestors at that time in the 1870s, they still imported things.
Yeah, like cocoa is an example.
Cocoa. They had cocoa.
Cacao, whatever.
Chocolate.
They
imported sugar.
Beans.
They imported sugar. And they also brought fruit from across the country too.
Yeah. So I just don't know. I don't like it.
If you can eat seasonally, that's amazing. And I think
here's another example real quick.
Yeah.
Like it's about to be September. The pumpkins haven't sprouted yet. Like they're not here in our yard yet, but I'm already in pumpkin season.
We bought canned pumpkins and we're gonna be okay.
I'm eating unseasonally pumpkin.
Yeah.
And I just feel sometimes I feel shamed for that.
That's okay. I think that's it right there. If you start to feel bad about your health decisions because it breaks a rule that someone inflicted.
I don't feel ashamed.
Okay.
But yes, other people though.
Yeah.
That's why I bring it up, because I do feel like there is this attitude and other people do shame. So
I think that they're like, again, there's something so beautiful about eating with the seasons. Like if you can make that possible, that's awesome. Like go online and look at like winter produce, spring produce, summer produce, fall produce. It provides like variety and spice in life. So then you can change up what you're eating. It also gives you like a wider nutrient intake. You don't overdo anything.
The fruit is like more fresh and ripe in that.
Yes. You can digest that better probably.
I actually feel like it goes with like the natural cravings too. Cause like in the winter, I'm not about watermelon.
Oh, it tastes so bad.
At like a different latitude and everything. But yeah, watermelon is very
When have you bought a watermelon in January that tastes good?
Somebody in like Costa Rica maybe, but that's so different.
Yeah.
Know? So anyway, I do think there's a lot to the seasonal and eating locally. I just don't like the attitude of the
I see
that comes with it. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's your third.
So that's your third?
Yep.
My third is normalizing eating disorders.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good.
So when people are afraid of food and they use a diet rule to stay afraid of that food.
Yeah.
Like I understand this. Like, so we posted a video, Sarah made a video about oxalates. And in her video, she said that peeling and boiling potatoes will drastically reduce the oxalates. And then like a bonus tip, if you include calcium in that meal, like cheese, milk, that will reduce your oxalate absorption to hopefully like make people less afraid of potatoes because they contain oxalates. But so many people came at that like with such a fear-based attitude of being afraid of the potatoes because of oxalates. When do they actually have a problem with potatoes?
Some people do.
Some people do
have an issue with the oxalates, but the reason we wanted to post that is most people don't.
Yes.
And the problem arises where these statements, like potatoes have oxalates and oxalates are bad, cause this like blanket approach to, and like people try to say that like that's a problem for everybody.
Yeah. And
so therefore like nobody should be eating potatoes. But that's really not true. And like I felt that way when we were doing more, like when we first learned about all the anti-nutrients and stuff. And that's when we were saying vegetables like are bad. But it's not it's no, like it's not bad for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's not bad in most situations.
Yeah.
And especially like when paired properly or prepared properly too,
Yeah.
it's usually not bad.
Yeah.
So I think this would apply too. So you're saying normalizing, I'm looking at your paper, normalizing eating disorders. This also, I think, could branch into like every single way of eating to an extent if the incentive to eat that way is based on fear.
Yeah.
As opposed to knowledge and
Well,
an understanding of why you specifically are eating that way.
I post this exactly on that. I post this on Instagram story all the time. There's a huge difference between food awareness and food fear, like two drastically different things. Food awareness is amazing and empowering and helps you make better decisions on what makes you feel better, what tastes good to you, and what helps improve your metabolism. Arbitrary food fear is causing more health problems than just eating that food itself.
It's just ending up with like people having very limited diets, and that like, so okay, let's keep going on this path, because this actually circles back to the vegetables and the fiber we were talking about. So people are starting to like say, like, they're having, somebody said one thing about this food, so they eliminated that. Let's say it was potatoes. Then somebody said something bad about nightshades in general, so they eliminate like tomatoes, potatoes, all of them. Then somebody said something bad about, the agricultural practices related to rice and high arsenic, so they eliminate rice. They start getting targeted that like starches and grains are bad, so they eliminate all starches and grains. Then vegetables are toxic, trying to kill you. They eliminate all vegetables, so they're left with like nothing. And
they left with fruit and meat.
Right, but then there's people in the meat camp saying that like the fruit is the worst thing you could possibly eat. But then there's people in the fruit camp saying that like meat is like inhumane. So anyway, you get down to eating air, and then like, all jokes aside, let's say you're actually just eating meat and fruit. Some people, like we said in the beginning, actually do better or would do better with more fiber to help improve and increase the bowel movements and reduce waste or increase the amount that is excreted. And so, but they're so afraid to add back in the fiber because the camp they're in is saying that fiber is horrible for you.
Yeah.
Because some people have experienced benefits.
Yeah.
But not everything that you're hearing or seeing on the internet is targeted or will work for you.
Yeah.
So yes, it has now created what I would consider an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're saying like because this is where it's really tricky with orthorexia.
Yeah. Okay. I need to make a disclaimer here. There are people who have eating disorders. We've both experienced eating disorders in the past. Like it's not okay. It impacts your overall health. And if you do have an eating disorder, you are not eating enough. You do need medical help.
There's an extreme difference between anorexia, bulimia, and then there's orthorexia.
I should have said normalizing orthorexia.
But again, there's nuances there too.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't feel like you have orthorexia if you don't want to eat extremely processed food.
I don't want to eat a Twinkie.
But I'm at the point now that I know that if I ate the Twinkie, the whole world wouldn't end. And I think that's where you have to get to is like, yeah, I'm not going to eat the Twinkie, like no offense, Twinkie, but
no offense, Twinkie.
The whole world wouldn't, like, I wouldn't instantly spiral into
You wouldn't explode.
I wouldn't, like, no, I'm serious. Like, people think you might die from the bite of the Twinkie. But if you've done the work to get yourself to, like, you're working on your health, you're doing all the basics, the bite of the Twinkie, like, that's just like, you can move on from that. You most likely, it won't taste good after a while because you've eaten better things. Like, I would probably want to just make a homemade Twinkie. Yeah. But I don't want that to be seen as orthorexia because I'm afraid of the Twinkie. I'm not afraid of the Twinkie. I don't want the Twinkie.
Because we eat just like such beautiful food anyways.
And it's not food.
Yeah.
But then the problem is, and this is why it's tricky, is somebody would say who's eating, like, let's go to the other side. They're eating only fruit. They're fruitarian. They might say, oh, I'm not afraid of the meat. I just don't want the meat. Or if we say, like, if we're only eating meat, I'm not afraid of the vegetable. I just don't want the vegetable. Yeah. Technically, that's fair. But again, you have to wonder what the actual, like, motive is. Yeah. And if some of that not wanting is based out of fear. Okay. I think that this is a good practice for the audience. And I will share an example of how this impacted my life. When we came out of carnivore and we were very much in the repeat crowd, again,
I would say the Ray Peat Forum created the Ray Peat diet. Ray Peat never created this diet, right?
The Ray Peat Forum is kind of scary.
The Ray Peat Forum is very scary.
It's great, but it's scary.
When we first added carbohydrates back in, guys, I was legitimately afraid of starches. I thought I was afraid of starches.
Yes.
Little did I know, I had no problems with starches. I do very well with starches now.
I do much better with starches than fruits.
I was afraid of starches for no reason because a dietary rule, right? And so I think that for the audience, like, are you afraid of something because a health influencer made you afraid, or do you actually not do well with that food?
Yes, and the same. Okay, so going along the lines of like the Ray Peat community, again, it's not Dr. Ray Peat's actual diet.
No, he never made this diet.
And like they say, you know, like the raw carrot, and like we want to focus on the insoluble fiber. So then because of that, I was like, oh no insoluble fiber allowed. But the crazy thing is like all the like carrots is a mix of soluble and insoluble. Like maybe it's more insoluble, but like did the small amount of soluble like do something bad to me? Like seriously, that overcoming that like big question mark in my mind is why I'm like eating more vegetables now, because I realized that like not everybody has an issue with soluble fiber. Yeah. So don't just tell yourself you have an issue with it.
That fear is going to cause more health problems than you think.
Yeah. And again, like this is not like Dr. Ray Peat. We obviously admire him so much. But
we incorporate so many things.
Yeah, but the rule, like these crazy rules and blanket statements have, you know, crept into under his name too. This whole Ray Peat diet, which is like sometimes called the pro-metabolic diet, which like it wasn't ever meant to be a diet.
No.
So it applies to everything. You know, it's happening everywhere. And that's why, I think eating disorders are totally on the rise, unfortunately, whether it's, you know, and so the problem is too, like orthorexic mindsets and behaviors often lead into binging and anorexia, because if you're restricting something so much, you will binge on it more than likely eventually, or you will be eating such little calorie that your
health's going to suffer.
Yeah, you'll be considered anorexic. So, and like, again, I had actual anorexia and at one point bulimia when I was like 13, 14. So like, I know that that's different, but a lot of people are ending up there while on their health journey because of these rules.
These extreme diet rules where people are afraid of food and are eliminating all sorts of food groups, they're leading to the low energy availability state, LEA state. And if you guys have not tuned into all of our podcast episodes with Kathleen, where we talk about that, a low energy availability state literally downregulates the metabolism of the entire system. And there are going to be consequences across numerous parts of your body. Hormones, digestive tract, like your digestive tract will literally shrink. So of course it's not going to function properly. Your liver can shrink as you enter a low energy availability state. Your liver has over 500 functions, one of which is like literally getting rid of toxins. So of course you're not going to be detoxifying well if you're under eating. So just be weary of this like never ending restrictive path of you just eliminate more and more foods and then you're under eating for long periods of time. It's going to negatively impact your health.
Yeah. And then like to take it a step further, then people start identifying with their diagnosis and they find other people who are doing the same thing. Yeah. And that culty like mindset and environment is very similar to what you would do with an eating disorder. Yeah. Because I remember when I had my eating disorder when I was younger, like I found this was like when Instagram was just getting started, but I found
Sarah's like an OG Instagram user.
I found so many other like girls of my phenotype who were doing the same thing as me. Like they were
feeding off each other.
Yeah, it becomes so so just gosh, it's tricky. It's really hard to be.
I really wish, and this is what I want our content to be. I really wish the health nutrition space was focused more on like, wow, look at the benefits of this food instead of, oh my God, this is horrible and toxic. Like throw that away, right? Like, wow, look at how amazing dairy is. Look at all these benefits.
Yeah.
Less fear-based.
Definitely. So yeah, that was the trends that we just probably say bye to.
Yeah.
So just real quick, things that are trending for us.
I didn't write anything down, so I'll have to think of this as she.
That's okay.
Okay.
I said starches, but we already talked about that. Love a girl a starch, right?
Starch girls. Where's the edema group chat at?
So starches, like Ashley said, just I feel like people who yeah, anybody could eat starch. Like I really am sick of like you didn't deserve that potato, you know. Like what does that mean?
Starches were a part of every traditional like
starches
group.
People say starch makes you fat. Starches are a phenomenal weight loss food. They are very satiating.
Yeah.
They are very nutritious when prepared properly, or just in general, like if we're thinking the whole food starches, potatoes, sweet potatoes, etc. They keep you full. They help, like for me, they help with my blood sugar. I must say it. They
boost that metabolism.
Muscle glycogen. I started eating starches and I don't have sleep issues. Like I sleep with them.
And Dr. Katarina Dalton very much demonstrated this in her 3-hour starch diet. They literally help improve they literally help improve your progesterone production.
Yeah. I think like people associate them with weight gain because of what else they're eating in the diet. Like
a burger has a bun that's starch, but what else is in that?
Yes. Or even like throughout the day, like, okay, they ate the sweet potato, but then they're eating like, I don't know, just very high fatty foods and stuff and high calorie things.
Yeah.
And then they're blaming it on just the sweet potato. You know what I'm saying?
It's not the sweet potato.
So starches is trending.
Okay, starches is trending for Sarah.
I said, just going back to like our macro tracking roots, like we've tracked our macros all throughout our health journey for the most part, but like recognizing again that like I really like that community, like the fitness community who like tracks their macros and like they eat mostly whole foods, but they like allow themselves regular food. Like when I say that, I'm saying like things that the health world would be like, oh my god, no, because they're not coming at it with the fear.
They're taking care of the foundations.
Yes, and so like the foundations are trending.
Yeah. And
recognizing that calories do still matter. I don't know why there's this one person who like constantly messages us on Facebook. Like we're on Facebook now, like our Strong.Sistas. And they are like really upset that we are on a cut because they say that you should be able to just eat low fat, like low fat and high carb, like 5,000 calories, and that's how you lose the weight. And we understand where they're coming from because like that's kind of like this promoted idea of like just raise your metabolic rate so high. But unfortunately, like for me, my personal experience is that like I have to be in a caloric deficit to lose fat.
You do have to be in a calorie deficit to lose fat.
Yeah. So there are many ways to
there are ways that you can improve your calories out, so you can improve your metabolism, so that way you enter a calorie deficit at a higher calorie load for sure.
Yeah, like building more muscle.
Yeah.
Not dieting forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
Being more active.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's trending, which is like, again, that's just the basics.
Yeah.
And then I said exercise, and what I meant by that was more like different forms of exercise. So like I've really enjoyed doing more cardiovascular work, like zone 2 exercise. And we started incorporating this more for our cut. Kathleen's our coach. And I really realized
we're finishing up week 6 of our cut.
Woo! I really realized how much I actually liked the zone. And I say that, and I have zone 2 today, and I'm dreading it. But it's because I'm deep into my cut. But I realized how much I liked doing a form of cardio, and I realized like cardio has also been demonized. Like, yes, there's some people who just do cardio, but then there's some people who say like cardio will kill your gains, cardio will lead to too high of cortisol, cardio is like horrible for you. But I just, again, like everything in moderation.
Yeah. Zone 2 is so different.
I mean, yeah, zone 2 is different, but like there's nothing wrong with if you go for a jog and you're in zone 3, like your legs aren't going to fall off.
No, but you don't want to do that every day.
But somebody, like, actually, I honestly feel like, again, like, who are you to say don't do that every day? Like, that's another rule. Like, what if I wanted to go on a 10-minute jog with the jogs every day?
I was talking about like huffing and puffing.
Yes, but then there's some people who are training for marathons who love cross country and they're eating extremely high carb.
Yeah. If you are trying to accomplish like a specific like athletic task, you go for it.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying, you know, like there's just rules. You were just sitting there trying to place a rule on it again.
I just don't think that doing a bunch of zone 3 is going to lead to the aesthetic goals that someone wants. That's all.
But you don't know everybody's aesthetic goals. Maybe they like being a lean, mean fighting machine.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
See, that's a bias.
I don't want to be lean, mean. I want to be lean with muscle. Like, I want to have muscle.
Yes. And that person could just, incorporate strength training some of those days instead of just running every day, and they'd be fine if they were eating appropriately.
Enough.
So anyway, cardio in that form is trending for me. Obviously, I'm still lifting. I just don't I don't want people to think that cardio is bad for you.
Yeah.
I feel like you're judging me.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. No, I have really, I've
Okay.
enjoyed adding in the zone 2, and that's definitely something that I want to keep after the cut, doing 1 to 2 zone 2 sessions a week. It's fun once you get started. It really is. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. So thanks for asking, but what health
You
trends?
didn't write them down.
I didn't write them down, but I just am thinking about it. Health trends that I'm currently into right now is basically just something that I found recently in literature that I find really fascinating is like incorporation of dairy and how dairy can improve fat loss when you're in a calorie deficit.
This is definitely not a trend. Like, in nowhere is this trending.
In Ashley's world, it's trending, Sarah.
But I'll let this trend for you.
I found some really cool research showing that, like, basically calories in, calories out, it still does apply. Like, the law of thermogenesis still applies to the body. There are ways that you can improve your calories out by improving your metabolic rate. And that's kind of where dairy can fit in. Like, it can improve your like fat oxidation, your ability to actually be able to utilize fat, and also reduce any like potential consequences that calorie deficit will have on like your metabolic rate and things like that. So basically, include dairy when you're in a calorie deficit. But interestingly, the benefits aren't shown at like calorie maintenance or above. And that's probably just because you're eating enough calories at that point.
I wonder, so a lot of people like just blanket statements say that dairy makes them gain weight. But that's because most dairy, like in its unprocessed state, is like higher fat.
Yeah.
And so yes, if you eat a ton of cheese or whole milk, etc., like that is a high fat that's going to raise your calories. But you can always fit the dairy into your allotted calories and still reach your goals. So again, people just forget about the calories.
Yeah. Yeah.
You also, I mean, I think it would be easier using lower fat dairy. I assume that it would still apply to using.
It does,
fat dairy.
because low fat dairy still contains calcium.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and so it involves like lowering like parathyroid hormone through higher calcium intake, and then that modulates like how your body creates and gets rid of fat inside your body, lipolysis. And so basically, by increasing dietary calcium, you can keep your parathyroid and calcitriol levels low, and then that will literally change. That can impact how your body goes through lipolysis and things like that. So
that's great.
Yeah. So my love for dairy, really trending for me right now would be like skyr yogurt, cottage cheese.
Skyr and like cottage cheese are like really not that high in calcium, but they're still.
They're skim milk. So I've been using a lot of skim milk in our cut, especially in our Ninja Creamies.
Casein protein
powder. And then like raw goat Gouda is like really good right now. So I'm switching between like raw goat Gouda and raw cow Gouda. That's really calling to me. And I'm wondering if it's like the vitamin K2 content of that, but Gouda contains a lot of that. So that's kind of dairy is trending for me. Okay.
What else?
That's about it. Oh, what else comes to mind? Squashes are starting to call my name. And so again, this kind of goes back to the seasonal things. Like, it's interesting, as you enter a season, your body like craves certain foods. So like, I'm really ready for the first kabocha squash. Really ready.
Squash is so good.
It's so good. We have a red curry squash in the oven right now, and I smell it. Yeah.
Okay, you need a third.
I need a third. Oh gosh.
We can wrap it up.
Ooh. Can like gardening be a health trend?
I guess that's fine. That's a form of exercise, technically. That's fine.
Okay.
Gardening is her third trend.
Gardening is my third health trend. Yeah.
Cool.
I guess what that gardening entails is just more time spent outside being active.
Yeah. And bringing in the seasonal variety of food.
Yeah. I just harvested sweet corn this morning.
And beans.
And
She made beans.
Beans for fall chili and green beans. And the watermelons are still not ready.
Yeah.
Still not ready.
I feel like beans have been demonized.
Beans have really
I feel like we've demonized beans.
We've been guilty.
But again, you just need to make them right.
Yeah. I can't wait to make a fall chili using beans from the garden and tomatoes from the garden. The tomatoes are thriving. And put some ground beef in there, some raw cheddar cheese on top. Ooh, some chives. My chives are doing good. Okay.
All right, well.
I guess what's being health trending, is being open-minded.
Yes, yeah. Open-minded. I really don't want to contribute to the fear anymore. And every time I go on Instagram, there's something scary.
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed following more people who are just like working on their fitness.
Okay. Can I replace my health trend? My number 3?
Yeah. What? You're gonna get rid of one?
I'm gonna add a 4th.
Okay. Is this a trend for you or something that needs to go?
This is a health trend that needs to come.
Oh, it needs to trend.
Guys, it's time for a fall cleanup of who you follow on social media.
Oh, yes.
Fall cleanup. Who elicits fear? Who does not help your health?
Yeah.
When you watch that person, do they make you tense and scared, or do they empower you? Go through the who you follow.
Yeah. And yep. Maybe they're unfollowing us.
That maybe.
It's okay, I guess.
All right. Well, that about wraps up today's Rooted in Resilience podcast. I hope we have more of these solo podcasts.
Yes. I really felt like a hint of judgment this whole time, though. Like,
oh my gosh, why?
I don't know, guys.
From me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a personal problem that we need to work
Just
on.
Kidding. Okay.
All right.
Until next time, make sure you
stay rooted in resilience.